Hi and welcome to Tips from the Hips, the greatest woodworking tips and hips on the internet, in my view. Today I've been working on this bit of rosewood. I'm making a writing slope and I've had to cut myself a stopped groove across the grain. Well, I've got another one to do and I thought you might like to see how I tackle it. So let's get this clamped to the bench and get on with it. Now the first thing I've done is define the outside of that groove using a knife and the engineer's square. Just running through with the knife, nice and deep. It's a single bevel knife, so I'm putting a nice straight vertical wall down the side of what's going to be the groove. So I do that from this side, and then because I want the bevel in the waist, I've turned everything around and come back in that direction. I've also marked the end of the groove, and the other end here is defined by this groove that runs this way through the board. Now you might think, let's find a chisel that's the same width as that groove and start pounding away as though it was a mortise. But of course, if you hit it too hard, because the grain's running in this direction, you could actually split this piece of wood. So we don't want to do that. We want to come at it across the grain. And I'm going to use a bigger chisel like this. And I'm going to first of all pare into those knife walls that I've made. So just pushing, a little bit of rocking, get to that knife wall and that piece breaks out. And we'll do that again along the whole length of the groove. Come round, do it from the other side. And take care, if you go too hard with this, you could again break out too much material. So I've done that once. Now I'm going to come back with the knife because I'm still not very deep yet. So I'll come back and re-knife that. And on this side too. This gives me a little bit more depth. Back with the chisel, and I just want to make a little bit deeper, so I've got a vertical wall against which to put the chisel when I do chop down. And you may need to go back in with the knife just to release those little chips. There we go. So now I've got a reasonably high wall on each side of that groove. So I can bring my chisel in, wide chisel, keep it up tight against the wall. I think you can see that. Tight against the wall, tight up against the end. Single blow vertically down. Move it along, and we just go however long this groove was, we could go and define the edge. I'll do the same on the other side. And again, we'll cut away. And we'll keep doing this, increasing the depth of the wall and then paring away to it from the middle until we get down to approximately the depth we want to go with the groove. But it's important that you pare away that waste material because the bevel on your chisel when you strike it would otherwise try to push back against your line and you'd actually widen the groove that you were making. So I think if I pare down now, I'm going to be roughly to depth. I'm ready to remove material from the middle. That's when you can come in with a chisel which is the same size or a bit less than the width of the groove that you want. And I go bevel down and just remove the top of what is a triangle that's left behind. Now that I'm actually down the whole of that groove below the edges, that holds my chisel in position, so it's a lot easier to work. I don't have to worry about it coming out of the groove. And I could take time with the chisel and finish that off nicely. But there's an obvious tool which I can use, which is the router plane, either this small one or the miniature one for this scale of groove. I've set the depth of the iron so it's exactly the depth of the groove I want, and I can just work that away to cut the rest of the waste from the middle of the groove. Swap it around to come back towards me. If it doesn't want to break away easily, then you just need to chop a little bit deeper on the edges. It just means you haven't gone quite deep enough. And that's virtually it. All we've just got to tidy up now is this last corner at the top. We can bring the correct size chisel in. Just ease that down a bit more because there's no material behind it. It easily slips back. Just undercut it, lift the waste out. A few little fibres to clean up from the edge. And you can scrape if you want it nice and smooth on the bottom. Right, I think that's a pretty good pocket. It's a very easy method, and that's how I do it. Join me again next time for more woodworking tips from the hips. The best woodworking tips and hips on the internet. Cheerio. For a chance to win this nightstand that I'm going to be building, check out my Just Giving page.